Released in 1994 for the Sega Genesis was Boogerman, a pick-and-flick adventure which was a two-dimensional based platforming game. The plot of the game had it that the responsible Professor Stinkbomb was working in his laboratory overlooking Take a Dump, where he was secretly building a machine in which he entitled the, quote, Zap-O-Matic, end quote, that would save the world from pollution and excess rubbish by transporting it to an extra-dimensional place he called Dimension Excrement, titled X-Crament. At the same time that evening, eccentric millionaire Snotty Rogsdale journeyed to the laboratory to investigate the project that Stinkbaum was working on to figure out just what he was planning and to see if such a claim were truly possible. Not being a scientist like Stinkbaum, he didn't exactly know how to use the machine. While trying to activate it, Rogsdale inhaled a small cloud of pepper through his nose and caused him to sneeze. The sneeze actually broke the machine, thus opening a portal. At that moment, an arm quickly emerged from the portal and stole the machine's main power source, a Snotrium-357. Deciding to respond to the danger, the main character quickly rushes into the men's change room to switch clothes into his alias of the mighty Boogerman, and leapt through the portal to pursue the creature whose arm snatched the power source to the machine, and to find out why it had stolen the Snotrium. Through the course of the game, Boogerman recovers the Snotrium and defeats the main opponent that caused the circumstances for the theft. Boogerman had snot-related powers and abilities and had to journey through worlds and fight against opponents that were also booger-themed based. At the time, reviewers and gamers' reactions were mixed to the concept of a superhero that had booger-related powers, abilities, and enemies. The consensus were that to be just a harmless single game, then there would be nothing wrong with it. But criticism emerged that if it were to be considered for a franchise or any possible sequel or prequels, that the platforming levels, opponents, and cause weren't that eye-catching or had much replay value for gamers. The booger theme of the game is also highly childish, as many didn't take Boogerman seriously outside the childish antics of the game. Boogerman would later be released on the Super Nintendo console a year later in 1995, and when the Genesis and Nintendo console versions were compared, the beta version was later deemed to be the Nintendo due to more crisp colors for character sprites, stages and effects, better audio, and more responsible controls. Due to the mixed reactions from critics and gamers, Boogerman was quickly forgotten, as the general video game community of the time didn't necessarily play the game or had their attention focused on other releases of video games more worthy of their time. However, due to the lack of a sequel and the desire for more of the character of Boogerman caused the game to be called an underrated classic of the early years of video gaming in the early to mid-1990s. In 2013, key officials involved with the development of Boogerman had announced that a sequel to the game was being developed through a crowdfunding campaign in which a goal of $375,000 were needed as the initial intended amount to complete the game for a 2014 release. But with such an extended amount of time since the original Boogerman release and proposed sequel in 2013, the campaign didn't receive much attention and only amassed $40,252 by the end of the campaign period. Developers and supporters were optimistic about the game being somehow completed regardless, but nothing else came from the project and it was later quietly, discreetly cancelled. Sometimes a character can be forgotten because they were the trends of the times that they were created in.